Once upon a time, there was an old magician, a sorcerer, who lived in a big castle. The sorcerer knew thousands of magic spells. He had spells for important things, like making himself invisible. But he also had spells for everyday things, like fetching water from the well to fill the pots and pans in the kitchen. The sorcerer wasn't alone in the big castle. He lived there with a young boy who was his apprentice, a student who he was teaching the art of magic. The apprentice loved learning from the sorcerer. Sometimes the sorcerer would let him try to cast the spell on his own, even though the apprentice was still learning and often got the spells wrong. One day, while the sorcerer was away from the castle, the apprentice decided he would try to cast a spell all by himself. Seeing a broom leaning against the wall, the apprentice tried a spell to make the broom go fetch water from the well outside. He wasn't sure if he remembered it exactly, but he gave it a try. And in a loud voice, he called out the spell. Nothing happened. But then, he thought he saw the broom move. And it moved again. And then the broom began to march across the room and down the hallway. The apprentice followed after the broom to see what would happen. The broom marched to the door of the castle and picked up a bucket. Then it marched out the door and headed for the well. The apprentice watched in amazement from the doorway as the broom marched to the well, filled the bucket with water, and headed back to the castle. As he watched the broom march to the kitchen and poured the bucket of water into the big pot on the stove. Won't the sorcerer be proud of me when he gets home? The broom didn't answer him. It just headed back to the door, back to the well, and fetched another bucket of water. Desperate to stop the broom, the apprentice ran to get the sorcerer's axe. Now the next time the broom comes in, I'll chop it to pieces, he thought. But when the broom returned, the apprentice took a swing at it with the axe. But he missed. Then he chased after the broom, swinging at it wildly with the big, heavy axe. But he kept missing, and the broom kept fetching more and more water. Thought the apprentice. Nothing. He called out again. Still nothing. Shouted it from the top of his lungs. Nothing could stop the broom. The apprentice swung the axe one last time, and this time he split the broom in two. And just to be safe, he split it again, and again. Whew, sighed the apprentice with relief, as he looked at the broom, shattered into hundreds of tiny pieces. But then, the pieces of the broom scattered on the floor began to move. They began to grow and grow until each little piece of wood had turned into a brand new broom. And one by one, the brooms headed for the door, ready to fetch more water. Oh no, thought the apprentice. Now I'm really in trouble. And he was. wasn't dead. He was saved. The sorcerer had returned home, shouted the correct spell, and put everything back the way it had been. "You learned an important lesson today, didn't you?" asked the sorcerer. "Why, yes, I did," answered the apprentice. "I'll never again mess with things I don't know about. Please forgive me. Please, please, please forgive me and let me continue to be your apprentice." "Forgive you?" asked the sorcerer. "I don't know if I should." But he did.
Let's hear